Why do they all gotta be surprise topics?
Why they all gotta be surprised up? Because we don't really come up with a lot before we actually come in and on the spot. If it's not current events or something we were really gonna talk about, then it's not something we're gonna
At
come
least I
up.
know what the next two are
All
gonna
right,
be.
so this what we're gonna talk about, all right? So housing prices, right? I want to talk about,
Okay.
or at least want to ask you, do you believe in America that housing, shelter, decent shelter and security should be a right? It should be insured. We should not have any homeless people in America.
I don't have a sense of whether we should or should not have what do you call it, homeless people in America, but I do think that all shelters should be a right, if that makes sense.
Okay. I guess.
Like, let's not make it legal or illegal. It's just that the shelters themselves, that I do agree that they should be a right.
All right. I heard legal and illegal. So, do you think that everyone should have the regardless of the situation, should have accessibility to housing?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you feel about when housing, because of the overall market inflation and all these other things, when people are starting to get priced out of being able to afford suitable housing? Because you know there's mansions on the hill and there's a lot of trash places that where people live that aren't really safe to be to inhabit. Now, environments are one thing. Outsiders' environments, that's one thing. Like depending on a neighborhood or an area, high crime, high whatever, whatever. But naturally, we should be able to have decent housing with decent access to amenities, uh, a good roof, good plumbing, you know, the basics and whatnot. Do you believe that should be easily accessible? Like it should be basically accessible by anyone. Everyone should be housed in some way. Like it should be. Not saying it's illegal because it's already basically problematic for you. It or not illegal, but it's frowned upon, and there's issues with you being out on the street homeless. But
That I know of,
mhm.
those issues have to at least be reported. Like let's compare it to cars. Like when you go to a dealership, like say the Harley, Toyota dealership, whatever.
Sure.
When they sell you, even if it's not a CPO car, you can still get a used car, but they have to report all the issues that are functional to the car working without putting your life at risk.
It's supposed to be decent.
So I'm kind of translating that into housing. Is that what you mean?
But is everybody entitled to having a car? But do you believe that?
No, 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 no.
Well, that's not. But what I'm saying is, should everybody be able to have housing? Like no matter
Housing,
what,
yeah.
no matter what happens, realistically, you should have access to be able to have to be in a safe space, a sheltered space, right? It might not, and I'm talking about more than just a homeless shelter. I'm talking about housing. Like eviction is a very terrible thing. I could go over this story, but I'm not going to.
No.
That I did with this recently. But the people who are going through eviction should not have to worry about, man, I'm not going to be able to live anywhere realistically after this because one, there's almost no affordable housing, and two, even if there was affordable housing, I'm going to be barred from most places allowing me to live there because of this scarlet letter. My eviction is going to be held against me. That should not even be a factor. There, housing should not be held from anyone. It can't be like everybody else who gives up housing. Well, hey, I'm not giving up. Go to somebody else. If everybody else says go to somebody else, eventually you have no one to go to. If there's 100 people that you can get housing from, and all 100 people, and every 100 of the 100 people say go to the other 99, eventually you're going to go to everybody, and everybody's going to say everybody's saying the same thing. When what I'm saying is that especially for
there's a small percentage of people who go through that who are just pieces of crap. Now, I assume the majority of them was something that happened in their life and they put in a circumstance, or maybe it was the fault of the person they were with.
Right.
A lot of times. So those people are okay. They shouldn't be, like, there should be a more detailed way to separate them.
Yeah, but you know what? My thing is this. it shouldn't matter about the particulars. It can be considered, but my thing is like this: that one, that's a lot of work to go through to figure out if I want to house you based on your circumstance, because there's a lot of different circumstances. Many of them could be similar, but different circumstances. And the validity of the circumstance.
Can people who get evicted, can they only just go to Section 8? But what if they make too much money?
Yeah, when you make too much money, but you have to be approved. You could say you can afford to live anywhere, so you can afford it, but no one will approve your application to rent because of your eviction or your credit or your say you got criminal history. So criminal history will get you barred. It will get you barred, and a lot of times the only way to get around it is buy your own home. A lot of people might not be there, so. No one, I believe house should be a right, and I really believe that certain barriers should be taken down, like an eviction, right?
That's a system that for sure needs.
It needs to be
more reforms.
Yeah, because it's a leverage aspect about. It's a leverage aspect about qualifications. Because you have an eviction, you're just automatically eliminated, just automatically excluded. Well, if everybody thinks like that, where do you live? Because their mindset is, well, someone will rent to you. I'm not going to rent to you. Well, then that pushes people who can afford it into places that are not decent for their money. Think about it. What if I can't afford? What if I can afford?
Or maybe you have to pay the whole lease.
Who can pay? If I could pay the entire lease up at once.
I know somebody. Yeah, I know somebody who, I don't remember his exact circumstances, but he was trying to get an apartment lease, and he said, "I'll give you 4 months in advance."
So pay that much.
So 1 month plus the 3 in advance instead of 3. So a total of 4 months, including the first one. And the guy said, "No, you got an eviction."
Yeah. See, still. So it doesn't even matter. Like, my thing is like this. I don't believe. It's easy to say. It would be different for me to say. Well, not even different, because before getting an eviction, I'd have been like, evictions are bad because it's like the scarlet letter. They're horrible. They are horrible. And I think a lot of people don't understand how bad it would be if you do get one. If the paper gets filed against you, but a lot of people skip. A lot of people get out of the lease poor decisions or bad circumstances. But regardless, I don't think it should be held against you, because when you hold the ability for someone to get access to decent housing that they can afford, you push them into undesirable and unsafe places that are already dealing with people who have probably made bad decisions or they're in modes of desperation. Why force people into desperation amongst people who are already in desperate situations? That's not good at all.
I'm not that familiar with all this, but that I know, and I'm sure it depends varying by state, but eviction is the absolute last thing that landlords want to do. Even they don't want to do that crap either. Isn't there no, I don't know that, I'm asking, isn't there a step that you can just leave where you're living at without them reporting you to the eviction, I don't know, whatever database?
Vacating.
Yeah.
Like say you get a 3-day notice.
So they did kick you out, but you're not officially evicted.
No, you didn't get kicked out. What happened? You left voluntarily. You break the lease. So what happens is they didn't have to go get the court to get you out. They said, look, if you don't
pay, that's an eviction.
Yeah, that's an eviction. If you don't pay, we're going to put you out. Okay, we're going to get the court to get involved so we can get the sheriff to come put you out. Most people, if they know they can't pay or they can't square it up or there's bad blood or whatever, they do what's called vacating. You basically say, "Oh, I'm not gonna stay here anymore." You pack up your stuff and you leave. Well, they didn't have to evict you because you left. There's nobody to kick out, right? Change all the locks and clean the place. And
so now that doesn't get reported as an eviction.
That doesn't get reported. What happens? It doesn't get reported as an eviction. What happens is, if they want to pursue you on what you owe the rest of the lease, they'll put you in the credit bureau for that.
Oh.
And some people can look that up and say, "Look, you vacated on the spot. You still owe them $2,000-3,000, and we're not gonna rent you because of that." But it's not an eviction. Once you get past the 3-day notice and they file an eviction, you can settle it. But that filing stays on you. So even if you leave that spot, you still have somebody can still look and say, "Oh, but somebody filed an eviction on you." Worse, if you do get evicted, you do get put out. It's on your record for that. be on it for everybody.
The property manager is just gonna decide to go with someone who didn't go through.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just it's a protocol. It's man, we would give you a chance, but our company basically says we don't accept people with evictions. We like same thing, we don't accept people with certain felonies, and it's just what it is. But that bars a lot of people who got caught up in circumstance and whatever. That's like, oh crap, you know. I've known people who got sick. They went to the hospital for a month. They weren't around to work, weren't around to pay. They got evicted unbeknownst to them. Just locks changed, everything in the house was tossed out. Evicted. So they're burned. People for all various reasons.
Yeah.
But it's but apart from that, I believe that it should not be a bar from you getting decent housing that you can afford. That's not even talking about more affordable housing. Housing should be more affordable. Housing should not follow the market. Housing should not follow the market. Home buying homes should follow the market, but not renting.
No, not renting.
Renting should not follow the market.
Yeah, because you need it. You don't need to be owner occupied. You just
need a roof over your head. Anyway, yeah, unless we're willing to rent from the government.
But
that would be something.
Capitalism comes before everything, bro.
Yeah, unfortunately, when there's not moral capitalism, it's an issue. But you know, I was talking about God the other day, and this is completely off subject, but he's like, well, why do shareholders and everybody fight so hard and always get profits every year, regardless of what's going on? And I think I understand why when I started thinking about inflation. I think the rich know that you have to stay ahead of the curve. There is no
100 million%.
Yeah, it's not. We made enough.
You can't make the same money. Yeah, you end up losing.
Yeah, because
next year,
if you make the same money,
you lose 8 to
10%. Inflation is turning the 10 million you made last year, this year, then 8 million, then 6 million, then 2 million because of inflation.
That's a loss adjusted for inflation. So whatever the inflation rate was for last year, that's what you gotta make to break even.
That's crazy, man.
So, like, unfortunately, that's how crap works. I don't think there's moral capitalism. Just the mere definition of it doesn't talk about morals at all. It's just profits out the door at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, many people decide to extend those profits regardless of morals. I mean, that's on them and what happens to them when, with their own judgment. But
but I just feel like a couple different things. Like,
but I hadn't thought about it. That's true. Because if you get evicted, even if it's not your fault, like say the person who got sick went to the hospital.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's not that you're not trustworthy to sell a lease to.
No one's trying to hear the story. This is what happened. This is the outcome. But yeah.
We can end now. It's been over 10 minutes.
We talked on it enough. What do y'all think about it? Do you think housing should be a guaranteed right provided? That's a whole nother topic about the government. I also think that there shouldn't be food poor. We should not be food poor. I think there's a certain level, but that goes in with decent medical care and decent education. But
I include food with water and the housing thing and the
education and
education and health.
Yeah. Y'all be good. Like, subscribe, share, and comment on this. We're back, y'all. We getting back into it. It's been a while.
The good news are overwhelming. So sooner or later we'll have to leave them now because we'll make so much money. We won't need y'all 2 cents every year anymore.
That's him. Don't put that on me. That's him. That's him. Disrespectful to the viewer. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Capitalism. I don't.
Good night, Nico.